After throwing a pick that set up a Chicago touchdown, Kaepernick allegedly used the N-word in addressing Lamar Houston. According to Fox Sports, Kaepernick was penalized on the field and later fined more than $11,000 for the alleged slur, but denied saying anything and will appeal the fine. Right now, we welcome back to the desk Nate Burleson, 11-year NFL veteran, current free agent wide receiver. What's your reaction to this?
Well, allegedly, I'll just say allegedly. I'm going to say this. I don't think that he's the first player to use the N-word over these first few weeks of the season and even in preseason. And he's allegedly not going to be the last. My concern is, how do you pinpoint who's saying what on the field? You know what, there's a handful of refs and 22 guys on the field at a time yelling and screaming. You got the fans yelling and screaming. There's talk going back and forth before, during, and after every single play. Unless you have this guy mic'd up in HD, I don't see how you can say that he was individual. And they even said that, obviously, he denied it, and who he was talking to said that that word wasn't said. So for me, it's just alarming and concerning that they're going to pick out Kaepernick. Maybe I'm partial because he's a UNR guy. I'm a UNR guy, and I'm a big fan. And he got a lot of flack for his tattoos, and he's changing the mode of what NFL quarterback looks like. So I hope that they don't have this wrong in the sense that they're just taking a black quarterback who maybe they thought said it, and they're fining him. $11,000 is hefty. I got in a fight early in my career and I only got fined $7,500. So this is a tricky fine and a tricky rule that they kind of implemented, because I feel like 100% of the time this is going to get appealed by players. There's no guy that's going to say, oh, okay, well, you got me, you caught me, and you know, because there's so much going on in between those lines, and it's just hard. It's hard to get an individual for saying something like this.
Stephen A.
First of all, the rules are the rules, and if you break the rules, we understand that you have to be penalized for it. Colin Kaepernick denied saying it. Lamar Houston, the person he allegedly said it to, denied hearing it. He said that he heard no such thing from Colin Kaepernick. Both of them acknowledged they don't even know one another, and we get that. And the rule book and unsportsmanlike contact, using abusive, threatening, or insulting language or gestures to opponents, teammates, officials, or representatives of the league is prohibited, and we understand that. So that's on the record. We live in a day and age right now where the use of the N-word has taken on an entirely new definition, new problem, and obviously it's something that the league felt that needed to be addressed. But in the interest of making sure that I'm not hypocritical in any way, Skip Bayless, better than anybody, knows my position on this. He has spoken to Mr. John Wooten, who we both have an incredible amount of respect for. But to be quite honest with you on this particular issue, I refuse to even talk to. And I stand by that position, and I will never deviate from it because of one reason and one reason only. I find it absolutely, utterly appalling, ironic, and dare I say hypocritical for anybody from the white community to actually be in a position to punish us for the use of the word. I can't even tell you how egregious I find that to be. I am not backing away from that statement. Skip will confirm that I have been consistent in my position on this matter. I will not change. I will take it to my deathbed. I will never deviate from this. I will never acquiesce to this. It's one thing for ESPN or anybody else to sit there and say over our airwaves, we don't want this. It's one thing for the NFL to say that on our field, in this testosterone-filled game where guys are going at it and saying Lord knows what to one another, we don't want this stuff spewed. I do understand that. And I respect the heck out of Mr. Wooten and what he's addressing as it pertains to that matter. But what you have to understand is that as a black man, to be in a situation where you could utter the word and it could be taken out of context and not even meant in the way that other people outside of our community might interpret it. But the people who actually made the word heinous, who actually made the word so incendiary, who used it to minimize and demoralize and basically disintegrate, at least mentally and emotionally, dare I say spiritually, a nation of black people. for you to find yourself in a position where you literally get to penalize two black folks talking and they happen to use that word? I find, you know what? We're over FCC airwaves. I'm going to leave it at that. Everybody knows what I mean.
That's some powerful stuff right there. That's powerful stuff.
It was.
Go ahead, Skip.
You both made powerful, powerful points. And I appreciate both of your perspectives. Now, let me address the gentleman I've known for 35 years, John Wooten, Stephen A. mentioned. He is a friend of mine, and I have great respect for him. John Wooten is a 77-year-old black man who is now the chairman of the Fritz Pollard Alliance. I believe he was the driving force behind getting this legislation passed in the National Football League, because I've had many discussions with John about an N-word that he does not differentiate, and he is old school. So we're having, this is actually a culture clash within the black community here, old school, new school, because John does not differentiate between the use of the word ending in the hard ER and the N-word ending in A. And we've gone back and forth about this. I say, John, the kids, he said, I don't care, the kids. That they have no idea what they're doing when they use that word ending in A, because they don't know the price that got paid trying to obliterate, to eradicate the use of the word ending in ER. Why would, in John's view, we perpetuate this? And Stephen A. and I have talked with Michael Eric Dyson on this show about this, on and on. But it comes down to the fact that John wants this penalized. And by golly, it's on the rule book now. This is a violation. This is a 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct. But it is going to be tumultuous to start throwing flags on this because, as you point out, this wasn't the first use of this word this year or in preseason or in the first few regular season games. And I must admit, because it was reported, and I'm going to throw this out there, Stephen A., it was reported that a white referee threw the flag on Kaepernick as he trash-talked with Lamar Houston.
That's why I said
what I said. And it made me
said.
very uncomfortable. As a white man, it made me uncomfortable because I'm thinking, gee, is that right? Is that his call? Is that should? And again, you have to empower all the referees, black or white, to throw the flag. Yeah. And you can't say, well, only the black referees can throw the flag, because that's not going to work. If you're really going to police the use of this word, you have to let all the officials have the right to throw the flag. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
Even though it's not.
Yes.
It's the spirit of the rule is not right. That's just me as a white man. It makes me highly uncomfortable that a white man would be able to throw a flag on that, because I'm sure Colin Kaepernick is going to say, man, I don't know about that. Right. Does he really, does he have that right?
Does he understand?
Yes. Does he get it?
Skip.
Yes.
Skip, Nate, may I interject? Skip Bayless, you just crystallized my point. You are a 62-year-old white dude from Oklahoma City, and I don't care what anybody says about Skip Bayless, Nate Burleson. Let me tell you something right now. This is one of the most fair-minded white dudes I've ever encountered in my life. His sensitivity towards issues that affect our community. I've known the man sitting next to you for 17 years. It's the only reason I do this show, because I know him. Because Skip knows I got a lot of other things I could be doing than sitting up here every morning with him. But because it's him, which is why I do this show, because of his level of sensitivity and how conscientious he is. That's why I love him. But let me be clear. The fact that you, Skip, feel so uncomfortable with the flag that was thrown against Colin Kaepernick, which led to the $11,000 fine, is exactly my point. And it is exactly my problem with Mr. Wooten. There is no doubt that this man has put in his work, more work than I could ever hope to. You know how much I respect and revere my elders. I was raised correctly. My mama taught me how to respect my elders. I am in no way trying to disrespect the great John Wooten, the conscientious John Wooten, and the tireless work that he's put forth on a multitude of causes. I applaud this man. I respect him. My issue is that with a lot of old school guys like himself, they're set in their ways, and that's fine. But they got a problem when you're set in your ways, but you differ from them, especially when you're younger. They just dismiss what you have to say as if it has no context. And I disagree with that. Because if you spent time educating a nation of youth younger than you, which John Wooten to some degree has done, then you have to respect the fact that there's a level of intellect that we bring to the table too. And maybe, just maybe, we should be listened to and we should be heard. And I'm saying that in this NFL culture, you got PEDs, HGH, weed, and all of this other stuff going on in this league. You've got all of these problems. And here you are, knowing what a battle it is, what environment John Wooten was a part of, Skip, that facilitated individuals feeling the need to take what you call the most heinous word in the American lexicon and finding a way to twist it. I don't differentiate between the ER and the A. Most black folks might not either. But what we have that he doesn't appear to have is a level of sensitivity to the environment in which they were raised, what they were accustomed to, what ultimately became habit, and how you have to fight through that on an everyday basis. It's a challenge. If they came on ESPN, Skip, I sincerely doubt that they're going to utter that word on national television for a sports show while talking. But while they're on the football field throwing elbows and body slamming each other and doing all of this stuff, might that word come out? Maybe so. Instead of worrying about the word, why don't you take the mics off of them so nobody has to hear it? How come you can't do that? But they don't want to do that because that would interfere with what the league is doing to appeal to the masses, because we want to hear the players banging their bodies and spewing their rhetoric and going all out. So you want to do it for your benefit financially off of these players, while at the same time victimizing them, because in the heat of battle, they might utter a word they shouldn't utter, and then on top of it all, you're going to get a white referee to penalize them for doing it too? I understand that he has to do it because all the referees have to have that power. Your point is made, Skip, but think about that. A white person is going to sit up there and look at two black dudes on the field and say, you can't say this to one another. Here's a flag, and oh, by the way, a fine is coming to take money out your pocket, and John Wooten is at front and center for that? I find it egregious and appalling. I'll take it to my deathbed. I'll die having that position. That is wrong.
Very well stated.
It is wrong.
Very well stated and very
well
powerfully
done.
stated there. Stephen A. Smith, perfect spot to leave it right there.